Global Apprenticeship Network was set up in 2013, and we are in action out of the G20, B20. This is when the economic crisis was so bad that youth unemployment was at the highest levels ever, and business, it was felt, needed to be part of the solution in finding apprenticeships, work readiness programs as a solution for youth unemployment. Our mandate is to get companies to commit to more apprenticeships, to share their best practices, to advocate for apprenticeships. Prior to setting up the Global Apprenticeship Network, I did a study for the ILO. I went to 7 different countries. I interviewed over 120 employers. There's no question about it. The stigma was the biggest problem. We are whetting the appetite of employers. We are getting them to commit. And maybe it is an internship, a traineeship, a learnership, but we hope to get to all apprenticeships. Now, there are some trends, and how do we get this up to scale, particularly apprenticeships? We're noticing that when we started off, it was about youth. Today, it's about the 50-year-old man in these countries who is losing his job and needs to be reskilled, which is not an easy task. It's about shortening. Many of our IT companies are saying they don't want 3-year apprenticeships. What about 6-month apprenticeships to start with? What about focusing on the soft skills? And this is the one thing the employers say. The benefit of an apprenticeship is actually not the technical skills. They feel many of them can teach those. It's the soft skills, particularly of the young people. Blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, what about new-collar jobs? We don't need a university degree for every job. And so there are some very creative things IBM is doing in these positions where it's a high school diploma plus 2 years. It's linked to an associate's degree. You get a degree, you get an apprenticeship. E-apprenticeships. Every country, almost even companies, are reinventing the wheel. And that worries me because I think it's a waste of resources. There is a way that we could streamline this and use technology better. There are new industries, and we are going from skills to degrees and reskilling and upskilling. We have the 2020 challenge at the GAN. We want to reach to 20 million opportunities for youth. And lastly, we are campaigning to get the word out there through social media. Please take out your phones. Please tweet this, please get the word out there, because everyone who's in this room is what I call an influencer, and you can get the word out there, which is very important to parents and young people. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Questions for Shay? Yes, sir.
My name is Jayant Krishna and I work for the Skill India Mission. See, in our country, we have made several reforms in the sense that we almost took a wish list from industry, large, medium and small sector, and almost 95% of their wish list was granted by the government. The act was enacted, and the new act is very, very industry friendly. Not only that, we also floated a apprenticeship promotion scheme where the entire basic training component of apprenticeship used to be, it is still reimbursed to the companies who do apprenticeship, who provide this facility, and 25% of the stipend paid to the apprentices is also reimbursed to all, not to those who achieve beyond a threshold, but to all people who board the apprenticeship bus. Not only that, our stipend paid to the apprentices used to be very, very low. So we have linked it to the minimum wages. And in the first year of apprenticeship, it is 70% of the minimum wages, followed by 80% and 90% in the year 2 and year 3. So all that we did, practically whatever industry wanted, we as a country granted. But things are still not moving. So while there's some improvement, but not as much as we anticipated. We need some serious inputs as to what went wrong, one is this, and also a slightly different question that, some examples of advocacy done for more and more industries to offer apprenticeship and more candidates to youth, to use it as an opportunity to transform their lives and board the apprenticeship bus. So both, they're two different questions. I don't know.
It's a really good point. Barring this, something that I read, and I can't honestly quote the person because I can't remember, we've sold the idea, we haven't bought it yet. We've gotten the word out there. There are incentives. What worries me is job growth is in SMEs. It's not in the multinationals. And we have a lot of multinationals. They're walking the talk. But there are few. There are not that many. But there are some very interesting initiatives that I would give you two. Microsoft and Nestle, who are members of ours. In the UK, for instance, Microsoft has a program for the IT sector, but they only need 150 apprentices. That's not a big number. And so in order to reach impact, one of the things that they're doing is they're offering their apprenticeship program to their supply chain, to their clients, in order to reach the impact. And they're hoping to reach 10,000. Another example, Astra International from Indonesia is a member of ours. They have a whole foundation that trains young people on apprenticeships that never work for them. They actually go out and they work for the SMEs. A lot of these large companies are training young people who they can't take in. And so they offer them to the SMEs. So for me, for impact, we have to hit the SMEs. It's not easy, but I will say also in Asia in particular, parents, and when I interviewed in India, every parent wants their child to either be a doctor or a lawyer. And it is so hard to change that mindset. And so when I did my study, actually, in South Africa, they said to me, can you find an apprentice in a suit and not in a blue collar sort of worker, etc.? And I really had to think. And I came back to Switzerland. And on our board is the CEO of UBS, who at every meeting tells his story that he started at 15. He didn't want to go to school. He wanted to play tennis or ski. His parents says you have to do something. So he went and did a banking apprenticeship. He went into it and he says, I'll never like banking. And he said, I actually really liked it. And it helped me with my career choice. He went back to school, and that's the beauty of the Swiss system. He was able to go back to school, and he's the CEO today. So I think sharing best practices, sharing good stories, convincing parents, but also career counselors. Especially in the US, they're stressing this because most career counselors measure their success on how many of the kids go to university. They're never thinking of apprenticeships. And so I think we've made a lot of progress in getting the word out there. It's not enough. We need to do more. So please, we will send you our toolkit.